Good morning, students, and welcome back to the discussion on the second chapter in chemistry for class 9. Is matter around us pure? Prior to this, we have studied a full length chapter on what is matter. So, before we start discussing about the second chapter, I would like to briefly revisit the topics that we have already studied in the first lesson because all the learned concepts are to be used in this chapter. So, what is matter? Everything in the universe is made up of material which scientists have named matter. Everything which occupy mass and have space is called matter. So that includes the air we breathe, the food we eat, stones, clouds, stars, plants and animals, even a small drop of water or a particle of sand. Everything is matter. Early Indian philosophers classified matter in the form of five basic elements: the Panch Tattva, air, earth, fire, sky and water. Modern day scientists have evolved two types of classification of matter based on their physical properties and chemical nature. We studied about the characteristics of particles of matter. So, according to kinetic theory, particles of matter have spaces between them, that is the interparticle space. Particles of matter are continuously moving, that includes kinetic energy, diffusion, and particles of matter attract each other, which we refer to as the force of attraction. We have also studied that temperature is decisive for the property of diffusion as well as for the kinetic energy of the particles. You can see how we can classify matter into three forms: solid, liquid and gas, and how the particles in each state of matter is arranged. So states of matter around us exist in three states: solid, liquid and gas. We have seen that in solid the particles are so closely or tightly packed. In liquids there is a little bit of space between the particles, and in gases the particles are widely spaced. The picture also gives you several examples of these three states of matter. So very quickly then we can see the properties of each state of matter. So solids have a definite mass, liquids and gases all have definite mass, but coming to shape, solids have definite shape, liquid acquire the shape of container, while gases also acquire the shape of container. Solids have definite volume, liquids have definite volume. For gases it is indefinite. Solids compressibility is not possible, liquids almost negligible, but gases are highly compressible. Fluidity is not possible in solids, but liquid and gases can flow. Solids are highly rigid, liquids are less, gases are not rigid. In solids, diffusion is slow, it's fast in liquids and fastest in gases. Number of free surfaces, solids may have any number of free surfaces, liquids can have only one, gases do not have a free surface. So these were some of the important properties that we had discussed regarding solid, liquid and gases. So now we can formally begin discussing about the topics in the next chapter. So we can see that we can classify matter. As I was telling you, that matter is classified. Modern day scientists have classified matter into different forms depending upon the physical and chemical properties, and you can see in the picture right now coming on your screen that how matter has been classified into different groups. We will be discussing about this in full detail, a part of which will be covered up today, and in the next sessions we will be covering more and more topics one by one. But formally, as we are introducing this lesson, you can take a quick overview of what are the topics that will be covered up in this chapter. So you can see that matter On the basis of whether we can separate the components physically or not, we are classifying them into two groups: mixture and pure substance. So what can be separated physically? The components of which can be separated physically is a mixture, and that cannot be separated physically is called a pure substance. So basically we are including the physical changes. Now for the mixture, depending upon how the components are mixed, evenly or unevenly. If it is unevenly mixed, then it is a heterogeneous mixture like dirt, blood, milk. But if the components are evenly or uniformly mixed, then it's a homogeneous mixture, that like lemonade, steel, what is referred to as solutions. On the other hand, pure substance, if you can separate the components chemically, then these are compounds, and if the components cannot be separated chemically, then they are elements. Compounds include, for example, salt, baking soda, water, sugar, the formula for which has also been provided. And on the other hand, elements, common elements, oxygen, iron, hydrogen, gold, to name a few. So we'll be covering all these things, all these topics in much more detail as we proceed with the chapter. So let's see what is given as an introduction in your textbook. So, is matter around us pure? I think it's visible to you all. Let's start reading. How do we judge whether milk, ghee, butter, salt, spices, mineral water, or juice that we buy from the market are pure? Have you ever noticed the word pure written on the packs of these consumables? Now, there is a very different notion of this word pure for common people. Normally, whenever we find this word pure written on any commodity, specifically food items, medicines, or any other product that we consume, we commonly understand that there is no adulteration. This means there is no impurity mixed in it. So, for a common person, pure means having no adulteration. But is the same meaning, is the same notion for the word pure also applicable in science? Perhaps not. For a scientist, all these things are actually mixtures of different substances and hence not pure. So, even if the word pure is written on a milk carton or on a pack of salt or ghee, for a scientist, maybe some of these are not pure substances because they refer to it as a mixture. For example, milk is actually a mixture of water, fat, and proteins. So, when we say pure milk, even though we may feel that pure milk means it has got no mix of other substances in it, but actually for a scientist it is a mixture. For a scientist, it is a mixture of water, fat, and proteins. So, what is basically a pure substance for a scientist? When a scientist says that something is pure, it means all the constituent particles of that substance are the same in their chemical nature. A pure substance consists of a single type of particles. In other words, a substance is a pure single form of matter. As we look around, we can see that most of the matter around us exists as mixtures of two or more pure components. For example, seawater, minerals, soil are all mixtures. So, before we proceed further in the topic of mixtures, let us quickly collect a little bit of information, precisely some more information regarding pure substances. So, we have already seen how to classify matter. So, we can classify matter into pure substances and mixture. Pure substances can be further classified as elements and compounds, whether mixtures can be classified as homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture. So, how to define a pure substance? A homogeneous material which contains particles, atoms, or molecules of only one kind and has a definite set of properties. Now, by properties, we may include some of them like melting point, boiling point, and which cannot be separated into other kinds of matter by any physical process. So, that includes elements, metals and nonmetals, and compounds, like, for example, salts. So, in a pure substance, it is made up of only one type of particles. Now, the word particle can be used both for atoms or molecules. Basically, what it is made up of. For that, we use the word particle. So, it might be atoms, it might be molecules, but it is made up of only one type of particles, one kind of particles, and that's why it has a definite set of properties. It has a specific melting point, specific boiling point, and by a simple physical process, it is not possible to separate the components of a pure substance. So you can see the structure of pure substance. From the point of view of the structure, the pure substance have only one type of molecules. Simple substances have equal molecules with only one type of atoms. Like, for example, you can see solid monoatomic, a monoatomic solid, a monoatomic liquid, a monoatomic gas. Obviously, depending upon the interparticle separation, you can differentiate very easily between the solid, liquid, and gas phases. In solid, the particles are very close. In liquids, the particles are slightly separated, and in gases, obviously, there is a huge separation. Talking about diatomic solids, you can see how the particles are arranged in a diatomic liquid and for diatomic gases. Compounds have equal molecules with two or more type of atoms, like diatomic solids, diatomic liquids, and again diatomic gases. So in this manner, pure substances and the structure of pure substances can be understood. So pure substances, does it consist of different types of atoms? The answer to this question, if it is no, if it does not consist of different types of atoms, then it can be called an element. And if the answer to this question is yes, it consists of different types of atoms, then the pure substance is called a compound. Now again, for element, does it consist of molecules? If the answer is no, then you can go for the atomic structure. This means it is made up of atoms. And if it consists of molecules, then we go for the molecular approach. Like, for example, we talk of argon atoms, and then we talk about a chlorine molecule. Similarly, for compound, does it consist of molecules? If the answer is yes, then we go for molecular group, that is water, H2O molecules, for example. And if the answer is no, then we go for formula units like NaCl, that is salt, common salt. So in this manner, we can classify pure substances. So now we can proceed further from the text. What is a mixture? Mixtures are constituted by more than one kind of pure form of matter. We know that dissolved sodium chloride can be separated from water by the physical process of evaporation. However, sodium chloride is itself a pure substance and cannot be separated by physical process into its chemical constituents. Similarly, sugar is a substance which contains only one kind of pure matter and its composition is the same throughout. Soft drink and soil are not single pure substances. Whatever the source of a pure substance may be, it will always have the same characteristic properties. Therefore, we can say that a mixture contains more than one pure substance. I hope the difference between mixture and pure substance has become pretty much clear to you all. Up till now, we have understood what is a pure substance. It is made up of only one type of particles. But When it comes to the category of mixture, it is made up of more than one kind of pure form of matter. So a mixture is made when two or more substances are combined, but they are not combined chemically. So that's the reason why the components of a mixture can be easily separated. The components each keep their original properties and the proportion of the components is variable. So you can see the structure of mixtures. Now hope you remember the structure of pure substance. Let me go a bit back so that you can quickly recapitulate. This was the structure of pure substances. Now just remember this particular structure for pure substances and then try to compare it with that of a mixture. Let me again go back so that you can remember it quickly. This is the structure of pure substance, and this gives you an idea regarding structure of mixtures. So from the point of view of their structure, the mixtures have two or more types of molecules. We'll be shortly talking about the types of mixtures. I'm not going into the basic details, but for the time being, just you should be knowing the names, homogeneous and heterogeneous, that we have already introduced the names, and see how the components are present in the mixture. Talking about solid dissolution, liquid dissolution and gaseous dissolution if it's a homogeneous mixture, and in case of heterogeneous mixture, for one solid and one gas, of two liquids and one solid and one liquid. See how the particles are arranged. So this is a mixture. So types of mixture. Depending upon the nature of the components that form a mixture, we can have different types of mixture. Now for this, one activity has been suggested. This is one activity that can also be easily conducted in the home. Just for the sake of convenience, we can replace the components, the substances suggested in this activity with any common substance that is easily available in our home. Like for example, common salt. We can use common salt in case of potassium permanganate, but it is also suggested in the activity. So it shouldn't be that difficult to conduct this activity in the home. So what the activity suggests? Let us read it. Let us divide the class into groups A, B, C and D. Group A takes a beaker containing 50 milliliter of water and one spatula full of copper sulfate powder. One spatula means one spoonful. Spatula is a spoon like object that is used in chemistry laboratories. Group B takes 50 milliliter of water and two spatula full of copper sulfate powder in a beaker. Group C and D can take different amounts of copper sulfate and potassium permanganate or common salt and mix the given components to form a mixture. Report the observations on the uniformity and color and texture. Groups A and B have obtained a mixture which has a uniform composition throughout. Such mixtures are called homogeneous mixtures or solutions. So just see what group A and B have taken. They have 50 milliliter of water and one spatula full of copper sulfate powder, and when it comes to B, they have taken 50 ml of water and two spatula full of copper sulfate powder. So the mixture that is formed in this case has got a uniform composition throughout, and such mixtures are called homogeneous mixtures or solutions. So now you can get one example of a homogeneous mixture. When copper sulfate is dissolved in water, copper sulfate solution is a homogeneous mixture. It's a blue colored solution. Similar examples would be salt dissolved in water, sugar dissolved in water. Compare the color of the solutions of the two groups. Though both the groups have obtained copper sulfate solution, but the intensity of color of the solution is different. This shows that a homogeneous mixture can have a variable composition. Why there is a difference in the intensity of color? Let me go back to the previous page and show you. Because group A had took 50 ml of water and 1 spatula of copper sulfate powder, while group B had took 50 ml of water with 2 spatula full of copper sulfate powder. Obviously group B had taken greater quantity of copper sulfate, so that's why the intensity of color obtained by group B will be more. But talking about group C and D, they had took only potassium permanganate or copper salt or common salt, no water. So group C and D have obtained mixture which contain physically distinct parts of non-uniform composition. Such mixtures are called heterogeneous mixtures. Like for example, mixture of sodium chloride and iron fillings, salt and sulfur, oil and water are examples of heterogeneous mixtures. Let us again divide the class into 4 groups A, B, C and D. Distribute the following samples to each group. Few crystals of copper sulfate to group A, 1 spatula full of copper sulfate to group B, chalk powder or wheat flour to group C, and few drops of milk or ink to group D. Each group should add the given sample in water and stir properly using a glass rod. Are the particles in the mixture visible? Next, we have to direct a beam of light from a torch through the beaker containing the mixture and observe from the front. Was the path of the beam of light visible? Leave the mixtures undisturbed for a few minutes and set up the filtration apparatus in the meantime. Is the mixture stable or do the particles begin to settle after some time? Filter the mixture. Is there any residue on the filter paper? Discuss the results and form an opinion. Group A and B have got a solution. Group C has got a suspension. Group D has got a colloidal solution. Now, you need to go through this activity once again so that we can understand why these conclusions were obtained. So let me begin from the first line again. Once we have formed the 4 groups, what all the 4 groups were having? The first group is given few crystals of copper sulfate and they are dissolving it in water. The second group is given 1 spatula full of copper sulfate and they are dissolving it in water. Third group is given chalk powder or wheat flour and they dissolve it in water. The fourth group is given few drops of milk or ink and they are also dissolving it similarly in water. Each one of them obtain a mixture. Now what they do? They direct a beam of light through a torch and observe whether the beam of light passes. Once it has passed through that mixture, whether they are able to observe the beam of light, whether the path of the light is becoming visible or not. If the mixtures obtained by the 4 groups are left undisturbed, what does happen? Whether the particles remain dissolved or they settle down in the bottom. Obviously, if the particles settle down in the bottom, once the method of filtration is carried out, you will get some residue. So depending upon all the observations, we can classify the mixtures. We can classify the mixtures into different groups. We can name them as a solution, suspension or a colloidal solution. We will be studying about all these in detail. Let me show you the filtration setup for the time being. You can see how a filter paper is folded in the form of a cone and then on the funnel it is placed, and with the help of this setup we can obtain the residue. In case we obtain any residue, it will be left on the filter paper and a clear filtrate will be obtained in the test tube. So let us go back in understanding of the mixtures. I have shown several pictures and your work will be to identify which one is pure substance, which one is a mixture. Now see how the arrangement of homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture is shown, the particle arrangement. So we have studied that in case of homogeneous mixture, it has a uniform composition, it is a part sample with uniform composition of properties, small particles evenly distributed. Examples are salt water solution, iodine, vinegar, stainless steel. Some more examples are given: puree, coffee, milkshake, chocolate, tomato soup, orange juice. While in case of heterogeneous mixture is one that consists of two or more substances, it is non-uniform and the different components of the mixture can be seen. That's what exactly we were trying to figure out with the help of these two activities. In case of the first and second activity, we have seen different kind of observations while making use of different materials. So some examples of heterogeneous mixtures are cereals with milk and a salad. Some more examples. So now we can compare homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture. So homogeneous mixture is a mixture which has a uniform composition. Heterogeneous mixture is a mixture which has a non-uniform composition. The particles of homogeneous mixture are not visible by the naked eye. The particles of heterogeneous mixture are visible by the naked eye. The particles of homogeneous mixture cannot be separated by filtration. Just see, right now we were conducting the activity of filtration. So the particles of homogeneous mixture cannot be separated by filtration. That's why when you are using a copper sulfate solution or say a salt solution in water and then you are passing it through a filter paper, you will obtain no residue because the components cannot be separated with the help of filtration. They remain suspended, they remain dissolved. However, if a mixture of soil and water or sand in water is obtained and then you are passing this mixture through a filter paper, what will you observe? You will find that water has seeped through the filter paper while sand remains as a residue on the filter paper. So the particles of heterogeneous mixture can be separated by filtration. If you leave a homogeneous mixture for a while, like if you leave the solution, sugar solution for a while or salt solution for a while, would salt or sugar settle down? Obviously not. So you can say that the mixture is stable. The particles do not settle down. While in case of heterogeneous mixture, what usually happens? Sometimes you find that you collect some water in a bucket and after a while, little bit of suspended particles are settle down on the bottom of the bucket. So that is primarily because of the reason that that is a heterogeneous mixture, and whatever particles are dissolved inside that heterogeneous mixture, sometimes they settle down because it lacks stability. The mixture is unstable. If a beam of light is passed through a homogeneous mixture, it is transparent and so the path of beam of light is not visible, but the path of beam of light is visible in heterogeneous mixture. You might have seen the path of sunlight becomes visible when it passes through air, especially in forests, or sometimes if it is coming from a very narrow slit, you find small particles of dust revolving in air, so the path becomes visible. And lastly, you come to the examples: homogeneous mixture, mixture of sugar in water, mixture of salt in water, mixture of copper sulfate in water. In case of heterogeneous mixture, you have mixture of salt and sand, mixture of sulfur and iron fillings, mixture of oil and water. So homogeneous mixture is also given the name of solution. It is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. It might be elements or compounds. All homogeneous mixtures are solutions and they can exist in any phase. So I would like to tell you at this point that whenever I am making use of the word solution, you should never think that it is in the liquid phase only. You can have a solid solution, you can have a liquid solution, you can have a gaseous solution. So it can exist in any phase. And liquid solutions must be clear that light can pass through and can be colored. So we will continue with our discussions on solution or true solution. Very quickly we can see the properties of true solution. It is a homogeneous mixture. The particles cannot be seen by the naked eye, as we were observing in this particular activity. That was the mixture obtained by group A and group B. So these are the observations actually. The particles cannot be seen by the naked eye. The solute particles cannot be separated by filtration when making use of this kind of a setup. The solute particles do not settle down and the solution is stable. The particles do not scatter a beam of light passing through it, and the path of light is not visible in the solution. Now I would like to show you what basically they are trying to stress upon this. Just observe, you're having a torch, the beam of light is passing through two mixtures. A is containing solution of copper sulfate while B is containing a mixture of water and milk. So you can see in the first case the path of beam of light is not visible. The light has completely passed through the solution and the path is not visible, but it becomes visible when it is passing through the mixture of water and milk. So this is what is being talked about. So in case of solution, the particles do not scatter a beam of light passing through it and the path of light is not visible in the solution. So this will be all for today's class. We will continue with our discussion on this lesson in the next session. Thank you.